Howdy, cadre. Not fully prepared here, but I'm forcing a video. Let's just jump right into it. All right, are we getting feed somewhat? All right. Bear with me. All part of the process. And part of the point of that process is to throw off people who aren't really interested. I think I'm headed to the studio. It's been a while. Got some mail I need to sort through. I need to be careful of the compact discs in there. Let's see, we got the Breeders and D-Light. Yeah, more mail to sort through. Yeah, I think there's a pillowcase. I haven't been in here in a while. Maybe I should set you down. Alright. Disambiguation. Have to be very careful. Oh, jeez. Maybe I'm not going in the studio. There's a can I missed when I was doing such things. Boy, you don't look comfortable there, Tuber. I didn't say hello. Hi, Tuber. Glad you could join me again. Part of what I need to disambiguate is who I'm talking to. Tuber, you're important to me. And that's a hard one to explain. Is Tuber... I mean, are you a tuber? Are you the tuber? Is Tuber a character I created so I could talk to you in a more personalized way? Those things might be true. Cadre is what I refer to as my close group that find this a calling. We're not going to talk about the hashtag. Can I get to dry erase? I feel like I just threw it in here, but I think the plastic project is probably the last thing I filmed in here. Hello Ian, I hope you're doing well. It's nice that I can get updates through the social medias, even if we're not talking regularly. I must have pushed these to the side. Yeah, I'm sorry about this. I request your patience here. This is important. Hi. They're on a shelf. They're in a box. Oh, good. I wiped the board. That's a good sign. Dry erase can really dry. Oh, I see one. I see two. I see four. Good. Okay. I've got black, blue, red, green. That should be enough for our purposes. I feel like you're too close, Tuber. You know, like it's gonna be hard to get this all in frame. God, and you do not have a strong back, do you? I need to give you something to lean on. Oh wow, that can works. The kismet, the serendipity is real. Okay. God. All right, disambiguation. This is a tale God, I don't even know if I want to use his name. People, characters. This video was prompted by an email I got. And this is tricky because this is important, but also personal. And so I need to be careful what I say. So I'm not going to talk about that too much. But yeah, this video is in response, prompted by a personal email. Green or red? Actually, I really wish I had purple for the right, and I would probably contrast that with red. Blue and red, a little bit tricky. I don't like how my glasses are fogging up, so let's skip that. Let's just jump into this. I could use black. Black is so problematic, though. Let's use red and green. Oh, we can use black as a divider. Alright. And labels. And let's, I don't know where your vision extends. Okay. Let's try and separate, with pretty clear labels. There's a real life human person. I presume part of what's hard is I know more about this other dimensional character. Not trans-dimensional. He's firmly locked in his own dimension, as far as I understand. Which of you gets red? Which gets green? My instinct is to go green. Left? It's the opposite. I think I should do the opposite. Alright. What I've been alright, two guys with the same name. I use the term name loosely. Nickname, now in the last few videos I've been referring to this guy, and I say guy loosely. I was led to believe he was male, but I could be wrong about that. I've been forced to question everything I thought I knew. And I'm avoiding saying the name because of Google. Freaking algorithms and stuff. And out of respect for him, I've been intending to start saying fracking. Fracking algorithms. But I've not done a good job. On the left, we have what I presume is a real world person. I was led to believe they're male. And I've decided not to say where they're from. Where I think they're from. I have no proof of that. Emails, DM is the only way we've communicated. I've not even had a phone conversation with them. Yeah, I've been referring to them as my gatekeeper. They convinced me they're trying to help me, and we're going to offer support. They haven't provided much of that support, but some in limited amounts. Anyways. This other one, to disambiguate, I could tell you a lot about, and I've been intending to tell you a lot about, but so far I haven't. In all three cases here, I want to respect their privacy, and I don't want to say too much without their permission. But it's different in all cases. I love all these people. I hesitate the most to use that here. Common parlance with our conflation of meaning. It's most applicable down here. This one feels like a brother to me, or almost like an alternate personality. I know them so well, and I'll admit that maybe I've made this person up. Active imagination. But the level of detail, what does he do? I just view him. Yeah, I did not prepare well enough for this video. And I'm very hesitant to say too much. Okay, so on the left, I've figured out this is not his real name. Figured out. I assume that's not their real name. On the right, I know way too much about this. This one doesn't like his birth name. And since he's now traveling between dimensions in a way that's not under his control, this isn't a planeswalking thing like Magic the Gathering, or even like the what were they called in Amber, the Chronicles of Amber. This is more like Wizard of Oz or Through the Looking Glass. I don't know if there was even a pill moment. There was, diving into that portal. Took a huge act of bravery. I'm trying to think of parallels for this. Opposition or opponent comes to mind. I got this in my own shadow. I can't even explain this now, can I? I feel the need to try. Rival? There's a... And you know, a lot of people, their brothers are their rivals. I don't quite feel that. I respect the differences my brother and I have, and this is not my brother. But the green is a traveler between worlds. And again, I've been meaning to talk about this for years. But I wish I could get his permission. I don't think he even knows about me. Although I wonder if in dreams, maybe he's seeing parts of my life. This guy lives on a couch, as far as I can tell. A lot like me. Probably have more in common with him here on this earth than this guy. I know very little about my gatekeeper. I just have the correspondence with him through email and DM on a couple of platforms. And this guy I feel like I know like myself, and he's been a big influence to me. Perhaps my whole life. But I'm not sure. Because he's not the only window I have into other worlds. And daydreams should probably be on this list. I'm already exhausted. I thought this would be easier and would flow better. But as I said, I am not well prepared enough. Despite feeling like this has been a focus, a distraction for years. For most of my life. At least 20 years. I guess that'd be half of my life. But possibly more. This guy may be younger than me. It's hard to keep track though, because other worlds experience time at different rates than us. Maybe that would be a better focus. Hello, sock. Multiverse theory. Oh, I don't like that black. It sticks. So, yeah, multiverse theory. Let's use the red. I know that erases well. Blue erases well too. may be using multiple colors for this. I've been real interested in the videos about multiple dimensions, and a lot of those on YouTube approach from the quantum physics side, mathematical theory side, and in a way, the mathematical theory side of things stems from a need to fit certain equations and truths into a greater universal whole. It's been called M theory, I think. A grand unifying theory. It's something that, Einstein and others have sought, that would be a fundamental equation or understanding that would explain all the laws of physics, the complex, and in this reality, it's hard. It's hard to tie them all together, and part of that is because things break down when you look small enough, or fast enough, or massive enough. Any of the extremes, our basic understanding of physics breaks down. So some of the mathematical have theorized 8 dimensions. Of course, we usually talk about 3 in our world. The X, Y, and Z axis. The Z would be receding into the plane here on this 2-dimensional depiction. And then we talk about the 4th dimension, time, which I think is probably the most fundamental dimension in reality, and probably should be called the 0th dimension in my mind. And then the other dimensions build on top of that. So there's a theory of a 4th dimension where you could have a square is a line being spread through a 2nd dimension, and then a cube would be that 2-dimensional square extruded through a depth. And then the 4th dimension would have and it's hard to draw, but a cube on each side of it. Sometimes these are drawn as tesseracts. It ends up looking like some sort of gemstone or something. But beyond that, we have trouble imagining. But there are videos that help with this, showing how a being, and usually they depict an ant or something that we see as lesser being, that exists in a 2-dimensional world. And if you were to stick your finger into that, they might see just a circle, but they're not seeing the circle, they're seeing the outside of this. So you're just kind of like a line, and they might see the hairs sticking forward off your knuckle or whatever. But as you pass through their understanding of reality, you can go from not existing at all to being a point when it's just the tip of your finger, to being a strange plate when you get to the nail, and then you get bigger, and then as your hand passes through, you become overlapping, and you look like multiple beings. And all of this is just your hand. As you keep going, you get down to a wrist. And that, sorry about the shadow. I don't even know if you could see that, but should I talk about his shadow? The multidimensional being that follows him. I don't even know how much he understands about this. If Aharon, I think that's how he thinks it's pronounced, the guy on the right, if he had some way to communicate with me, I would love it. I would love his permission to share his story. And heck, the guy on the left, if I could have a phone conversation with them, I would love to. But anyways, to get back to topic, so if we compare 2D to 3D, it's pretty easy for us to understand two dimensions and relate that to our 3D world. We visually see in two dimensions, but with two eyes we have stereoscopic vision, and we understand that we're seeing a depth, a distance from ourselves. And so while our perception may be of, and I don't know why we use rectangles to frame this, our periphery seems more round or ovular to me because of our eyeball, but and lenses, optics, there are no straight lines, was said recently on the red carpet. Congratulations, Terrence. You've just confused the masses further, and that's probably what I'm doing right here, but that is my burden to bear. I don't think I'm disambiguating anything at all. But if we understand those planes, and then the third dimension as, you know, those planes stacked on top of each other, that depth we perceive, and here I'm depicting them from the end so that I can show you the stacking. We can try to imagine a fourth dimension from that. So multiverse theory can be looked at in several ways. If we think about 2D depiction, now conceptual of the physical laws, like maybe you could look at the constants, Planck's constant, the speed of light, other length of wavelength of light, other fundamental concepts that we can measure in our reality. You could imagine if this is our plane, I'll label that Earth, prime, whatever. We could number these. This could be Earth 0 as ours, but you could imagine another dimension where one of those fundamentals is changed slightly, so light is a little bit faster, and we could extend those outward. Along a different dimension, we could imagine different constants. A mole, the number of atoms. It's been a long time since I had science. Anyways, we could imagine other constants going another direction, and that would give us a 2D mapping of the multiverse where we could find different things, and maybe some of these are not viable, they'd just be conceptual, and we couldn't ourselves go to and experience them. I mean, we don't know a way to get through these anyway. It's portals or black holes, wormholes, astral projection. There's a lot we can theorize, and some things some of us can experience but not explain or rationalize in a good way. Another example of multiverse theory would be decisions. And this was maybe best popularized by the Back to the Future series, where if you think of our history as a single timeline progression of cause and effect, things responding to each other, people having children and those children growing up and having children, if you were to somehow go back in time and change something, you could fork off, you can fork off another path. And you could live through that same sequence of time but end up in a different place because of the fundamental changes you made to that history and the different chain of events that follow from that. And so you could imagine a mapping of all of those decisions, your parents' decisions and your grandparents' decisions, leading to a whole bunch of different dimensions or realities, where things seem very similar. But okay, Sliders was a sci-fi show that played with this concept, and there was a world where everything seemed the same, but the stoplights were reversed. So green meant stop and red meant go. And it was only confusing to someone who's jumped sideways between dimensions. Everything else seemed the same, but the convention of traffic signals was inverted. I think yellow was still the same, amber. And maybe there are decisions that are insignificant that causes a path to rejoin, so that temporarily things seem different between the two dimensions, but they conflate. I didn't make all this stuff. I can't claim to know what's going on, but I've certainly read some stories where a guy goes back in time to prevent his own suicide that led to him joining some time police. They viewed history from outside the timeline, and when things were disrupted, they would be sent to change it, but they weren't allowed to influence their own past, partly because they would recruit people right before they die, and they would replace them with a body duplicate so that the timeline wasn't affected. But they would get this person, for people who met the requirements, they would get a healthy person who could work for them as one of these time enforcers, and but they weren't allowed to go back into their own timeline, because if they influenced things that may have changed their death, then they wouldn't become a recruit, and they would cause a paradox. So that it was an interesting story, because the guy went back in time to prevent his own suicide, and when he took the gun away, the former version of himself tried to kill himself, failed, and just reloaded the gun and succeeded. So then he went back and took the gun and the bullets away, and then the guy broke into the neighbor's house, found a gun, and killed himself. And so the tiny details were different, but the end result was the same, that he still was able to be recruited by this enforcement agency and not cause a paradox. And as he continued to try and stop his own death, the end result, spoilers, but I didn't even say what story this is from, the end result was him walking out onto a balcony and a small meteorite hitting him in the head. The meteorite had a composition and a size and a velocity that made the people who found him think that he had been shot, even though it was a meteorite, and they didn't find a gun or anything. But again, those are small details that kind of get wiped out in the timeline. To get back to time, I think some dimensions just move faster than each other. Where one might have years, if you imagine the Earth rotating quicker, you could have faster years. And so just stepping sideways between these dimensions will feel like time travel. You may just be crossing traversely into another dimension, but suddenly you have advanced technology and stuff here that you don't understand, and maybe you meet your grandchild because in this timeline you were born way back here rather than here, and so you end up being able to meet your descendants. So my point is that it's hard to even do a mapping of multidimensional theory, because if you have left and right being different speeds of experience, and those may have forked off from a similar past where something triggered a faster advancement of technology or whatever, in another dimension you may have, so if that's left and right, and I'm showing time here, so you may have a depth, I shouldn't switch colors yet, but you may have a depth that represents different physical fundamentals of the universe, like I said, with Planck's constant and speed of light and other variables. What happens to a star when it explodes or implodes. We could also get into, I think black holes are punctures in our space-time that go somewhere. And there's arguably no return. But how do we know? We haven't been able to watch black holes long enough to see anything come out. And just because we don't have the data doesn't mean it's not possible. But of course science is based on what we can observe, and so it's therefore limited to what we have observed. And so any of these crazy theories are possible until proven not, although Occam's razor probably applies, and certainly the consensus of scientists is important to understand IRL as far as what we can be sure is going on. But beyond that, talking about God, magic, quantum theory, theoretical physics, black holes, dark matter, dark energy, they're all words we apply to things that we haven't fully understood yet. And the cosmos is a lot bigger than people realize, and we know about Laniakea now, the supercluster of galaxies, through certain measurements we've done, and the whole thing seems really huge, and it is, but it's just part of the story, because again, that's all we've just observed, and beyond that, measured or sensed. Anyway, I love you. I'm sorry this is not a better disambiguation of things. It's some hints at what might be to come. I think I got 3 likes on my video. I should have set a time limit, because now I don't know if I should focus on Magic, The Gathering, or Minecraft. I tell you, I like myself a lot better in the Minecraft world than I do in the multiverse of the Planeswalkers. More to come. Feel free to send me another message if you have more information. I have no idea if I said enough or too much, if I've exposed myself or one of these people I'm talking about to some threat or danger. But I know I'm happy you're here, Tuber, to talk to. Sorry you've become asymmetrical, which is my own doing. My grandma, bless her soul, may she rest in peace, I suppose bears some responsibility, but you're born out of my head, not hers. She helped with some some stitching and such. I'm gonna give you a big hug. All right. Yeah, feel free to leave text messages. I will read them. I can't respond. At least for now. Should have blown off the dust at the beginning. Right. Insert catchphrase here.